This episode, what it takes to get through the toughest test the U.S. Army has to offer. You might call it craziness, but our next guest calls it resilience. I'm Daniel Lance, along with co-host Paul Gilman, and from Paul's Basement Studios, this is Pod So 1. First Lieutenant Jack Stockhausen is not one for taking the easy road. At 25 years old, he bears the distinction of being a West Point alumnus and U.S. Army Ranger with a deployment under his belt. Jack comes on to the show to talk about his time at the academy and how, upon failing Ranger School in the final week, he decided to do what few others do: go back and start the grueling course all over again. We were also joined by Jack's dad, Mike, who came on back in our first episode to tell his story. So here are the Stockhausens. Mike and Jack, thank you for coming on to the show. We really appreciate your time today. And I think this is really the Jack show. Mike, we've had on in a previous episode. So yeah, again, thank you.
Episode 1, man.
Yep, Mike's OG. So he's here to help us talk to Jack a little bit. So let's get started. Jack, when did the idea of going to West Point enter your mind?
So I want to say around sophomore year in high school was when it really kind of came to fruition as being like a possibility, really. I was, of course, growing up with my dad in the Army, and being around it, my whole childhood. I knew I was always fascinated with the Army. I knew I always kind of wanted to be in it, but growing up, you really don't know how you're going to get there or what it's going to look like or anything until you kind of start looking into your mid high school years of like, what's my future? Where I want to go to college? Do I want to go to college? What I want to do, really. It really actually was really two things. It was the Naval Academy and West Point, were the two options, because I either one, and Air Force as well, looked into all three, but right at the beginning, it was Navy or West Point. And I remember when it really came down, when I really kind of started thinking about it more and more, is we had a good family friend of ours. My grandparents, own a beach cottage down in the Outer Banks. And, we'd go down there summers and all that. And a good friend of my grandfather's who ended up becoming a good family friend, our family, his family and all that. The Durkins, they had 3 of their boys all go to the Naval Academy. And they're a little bit older than me. And, I met them growing up and hanging out with them when we were at the beach in the summer. And they're all really cool guys. And one of them had gone on to become like a SEAL, which, at the time I thought was like the coolest thing ever. But that's right. Yeah, about sophomore year was really came, and then you started looking into everything, and from there it really became the dream and the goal. So
what was the process like, applying and eventually getting admitted?
It was actually pretty in-depth process. You start normally about your junior year, the summer going into your junior year, so about 2 years out from when you'd actually enter in, with that, making contacts and getting your applications going, getting your SATs, basically putting together your packet, because it's different from a lot of other college applications, is because you only need the application that goes to the school itself, but you need to apply through your congressmen and your senators for your local congressional district, federal congressional district, and then your senators too for the state. Because they need to nominate you to go to the school as well. So it's almost like you're working on 2 separate applications at once, doing 2 different sets of interviews, one through the academy and then one through, your congressmen or your senators or different nomination sources they have. And then, doing that. And I was applying for all 3 of them too, West Point, Naval Academy, and Air Force Academy. For me, it was really good, not just getting after trying to accomplish my goal there, but it was also a really good developmental thing too. I feel like I really, learned a lot about, professionalism and maturity and all that just within that time frame there. Because you were going to all these interviews, you had to learn how to, present yourself, to learn how to speak well, be able to answer, questions, and you really, present yourself in a good way. All these interviews and stuff you were doing. So I think it really developed me and prepared me, just the application process itself. For it also. It was pretty lengthy, and then February of 2013, so February of my senior year in high school, we got the letter in the mail that all the hard work had paid off up to that point and was accepted in. So, but that was just the beginning from there. But
I feel like saying congratulations.
it was good. It was an interesting process.
It sounds like something you need a lot of foresight for. I mean, at the end of my sophomore year in high school, college was a distant reality. I had no idea what I was doing the next year, much less 2 years out. So that's pretty cool. When you got to West Point, you said that you had kind of an idea of what West Point was like. What did you notice that was different from the idea that you had before going in?
So I think you don't really know until you get there and you experience it for yourself. But when we started, they immediately, kind of throw you to the fire at West Point. So you go straight in. I was like 2 weeks after I graduated high school. I was, get my head shaved and going into, their version of their basic training program that summer. So it was a quick transition and all that. And overall, it's kind of what you expect it to be like. But again, it challenges you, or it was challenging in so many different ways than I didn't, then really when you're going into it at 18, you don't know what, because you know what it's going to do. Because like I mentioned, Nick, when you go in, you think, oh man, I could do anything. I was just accepted. Like I'm going to take this by storm, and and it's made to kind of humble you as soon as you get there too, and made to humble you, kind of break you down. And a lot of people did drop out, especially at the beginning too, and decided this wasn't for me. But I was like, this is what I want to do. This was my dream. This is my goal. Like, I mean, there was a lot of times, during the 4 years there when it was tough. And it's supposed to be tough. It's supposed to be challenging always, personally, academically, physically, always. But that's how it's structured to be. And the ways that it's designed to test you and to mold you, you really don't realize until after. A lot of the lessons I learned there, not only about online work ethic but a lot of the just general personal lessons I learned there, they don't come out. And so you don't really realize them or appreciate them until a couple of years down the road. And when you see it, it's like, oh man, like you appreciate it so much more.
When you were in the thick of it and going through it and being broken down and being humbled, how regulated was your life? Like how was that whole experience?
It was overall, it was pretty regulated, especially your first couple of years there. Especially the first year, it's very, very regimented. Pretty much every minute of your day is either scheduled or planned out in some fashion. Really, from waking up to going to bed at night, even on the weekends, it was all just regimented time. You study a lot. The classes are rigorous. So, but it's a constant grind. But it gets better as you go on. So like I mentioned, the first year or two, it's very, very structured, very restricted in a way. And then as you get older, it's like with anything with seniority. You go into your senior year, you get a little bit more freedom, but then your responsibility increases.
What was your first semester? What was the first class on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Oh yeah. So every semester you had to take a physical education class of some way. And my first semester there at 7:30 in the morning was boxing. So it was getting punched in the face and fighting first thing in the morning before you're for the whole semester. It was good. That was good. That was the best way to wake you up in the morning. That's for sure. It was getting rocked in the face.
That's at 7:30 in the morning?
Yep, 7:30 in the morning. That was good. But as one of the classes too, it's part of the whole design, the whole system to kind of make you tough, make you resilient. And taking a punch at 7:30 in the morning is not desirable at all. It was awful.
Did it instill a desire in you to pursue martial arts?
It did not. So with the Army too, we always practice different combatives, and the combatives levels in the Army is a big thing. Everyone's combative certified. And that's like your basic like hand-to-hand combat skills, and you can progress more and more if you want. But it's just like something everyone does. Everyone takes boxing. Everyone takes combatives in some way. For me, I never did anything past just like the base level things. I know a lot of guys who love that stuff and have become combative level certified or went to like some advanced martial arts and all that. But for me, it was fun throwing some punches and all that and getting after it. But I was,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Was there anything about going to West Point that surprised you?
So there are people come from all different backgrounds, every parts of the country, because you think, every congressional district across the entire country is represented in some way. So, not only is there fellow people from Virginia, but there's people from Alaska, Hawaii, Montana. I mean, it's just so many different backgrounds, are represented there. So I really liked that a lot, because you got to know a lot of people, because when you're in those structured environments, you become very, very close with people. Your buddies who are with you, we're all divided up into different companies there. There's 32 different companies at school, and the people, and each company consists of an even amount of cadets from each class. So freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, and you become very, very tight knit with the people in your company. And it's the same thing. They come from all different backgrounds. They had all different experiences going into it, but we're all there and we're all in it together. So I really liked that aspect a lot. And again, it's like something you really don't know going into it, like how it's going to be, how it's going to turn out. But it's something that ends up being one of the best parts of your time there is just the camaraderie and the relationships you build while you're there.
So would you recommend West Point to high schoolers, like any high schooler?
Yeah, I would. And if they really want to do it, because you have to want it. I'd say you definitely have to want it. And the people who really got in there and their heart wasn't set on it, their heart wasn't set on being at West Point, their heart wasn't set on commissioning, their heart wasn't set on being an Army officer. Those are the people who left, because your heart, no matter how difficult it gets at any point, that's what carries you through, is how bad you want it and how you basically make quitting not an option.
So people that even went through the 2-year prep, talking to congressmen, senators, going through all the hoops to get into West Point, they'd get to West Point and then they would leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had some people leave and quit and just decided it wasn't for them, which is no shame on their part or anything, but it's you gotta want it the whole time you're there, and you gotta build the grit while you're there to get through. So I would tell any high schooler who wants to go or has aspirations of going to definitely make it, try to make it happen and get there, but just know that, hey, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's 100% worth it. All of it's 100% worth it, but your heart has to be there. So,
was there a moment during your tenure there that you felt like quitting?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Quite a bit, actually. You question it a lot, because it is such a constant grind, a constant challenge, and you question it. Man, do I really want to be here? Do I really want to do this? Like, is this worth it? You have constant questions. You see, a lot of your friends, on the outside, doing different things, with a lot more freedom, and guys you went to high school with, and people on the outside too. And you really wonder, man, like, is this grind, is this really worth it all? Is this what I want to do? But again, you fall back on, your heart. Again, you just don't make quitting an option. And that's what pulls you through that. But yeah, there are multiple times I wanted to quit and wanted to just throw in the towel and transfer out of there. And I don't think they were really serious. I think it was just kind of more like frustration at the moment. And my dad can attest to this too, because I called him quite a few times being like, oh, what the hell am I doing here? Like, but it was more just like, it was out of just frustration in the moment. And it's like everything, like, I'd be late at night doing something, wasn't getting anywhere with something, just frustration. Talking to a dad being like, I don't know if this is worth it. This is crazy. My dad he'd calm me down, talk some sense into me and all that. But like, you wake up the next day, you kind of reorient yourself, with everything. All right, cool. We're back on it. So
that's awesome. It really seems like, I've only spoken to you for a few minutes now, but you seem like a well-adjusted guy, and it seems like such a cool and bettering experience to go through all those years, especially at such an early age, because I think it really points you the trajectory of your life and your character development in such a good direction when you're really young.
It's kind of sucked when we were there, but man, it's sure good to be from there, just because looking back, you just appreciate it, so much more from the outside. And a couple months ago, a classmate of mine got married, and we kind of had like a mini reunion up at his wedding in New Jersey. And we're about an hour and a half from West Point, which is, just across the border in New York, just north of New York City. And so we're, why don't we take a ride up there? It'd been my first time back in about 2.5 years since I graduated. Back to, the campus and kind of just back into that environment. And, riding back onto campus for the first time. And again, 2.5 years, so much had happened, but, going into my, my Army career, after graduation and, during that time, and, stepping foot back on the campus for the first time was just like very surreal and humbling experience. And that's kind of when it kind of just dawns on you, like, oh man, this was 100% worth it.
Very cool. So I went to liberal arts college, and there was a lot of stringent anti-hazing rules in fraternities. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I think of when I think of military academy, I think of Full Metal Jacket or just
mm-hmm.
kind of the drill instructor laying into people. And I'm wondering, did you ever think that there was like a line between being humbled and broken down and being hazed? And was that line crossed?
So in my experience, for me personally, the line was never crossed. There's a very big difference, like you mentioned too, of breaking you down, humbling you versus hazing. And I think that was a big thing that was kind of preached at West Point. Just part of the culture there was, we're here to break you down, but again, we're all on the same team, and we want to build you up into where we want, what we want you to be. And I think that's most of the Army is like that too. And my dad can attest to it too. At his time, a lot of the experiences kind of went along with his experiences, in the Ranger Regiment early on. Was they break you down, but it's not necessarily just for that reason. It has a larger purpose to it. Mm-hmm. And there were cases, and again, none of them, nothing I experienced directly or saw directly, but there were cases there. There are outliers, people just kind of doing stupid things to other people, just because they can. But I think it's good. It's good to be tough on people. It's good to expect a lot of people, especially the younger people coming in, your younger soldiers, your younger cadets, who are getting in there, because that's their development period, and I think presenting some challenges and getting out of your comfort zone and all that are very necessary just in your personal development. Mm-hmm. But as long as you have the right intent of what it's supposed to serve, the purpose it's supposed to serve, and it should be centered around development, and rather than just like hazing to be hazed. Yeah,
that's very well said.
Jack, to wind up your West Point career, and just so Daniel knows that in his last year, there's two like really big events that happen, and one is that they choose their branch, or they get branched. It's branch night, and then they find out where they're going to be stationed. So before the branch night, and a branch of the Army is like the infantry, the armor, artillery, engineers, transportation, logistics. There's 27 different things they can do. So, Jack had asked what to do, and I told him many times, maybe not what to do, but what not to do. And Jack, what did I tell you not to do?
Don't branch infantry.
And so what did you do?
Branched infantry.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
And as he said, he told me he drank the Kool-Aid. That's just like I did really back in my day too.
Exactly. So wait, why did you say don't go infantry? And then Jack, why did you go infantry?
I think I said don't go infantry. Well, for one thing, I was like, and Paul knows this to some degree too. There's a certain mentality in the infantry that you got to deal with the entire time you're there. I always call it the meathead mentality. Okay, we're going to do things stupid just because it's harder to do it that way. That's how I'm going to prove I'm tougher than you. And it can be very, very frustrating. And I think it doesn't take a lot of talent in my And I think Jack would have been much better in doing these things. Like Paul was an engineer, before he drank, it was forced to drink some of the Kool-Aid later on in life. But and also it's hard on your body later on, not when you're young so much, but when later on, everything hurts. So I thought that there was just things that he would be a little more suited for. If you notice just from talking to Jack now, he's not the the super A-type personality, meat-eating, carnivore that's going to go out and just walk over bodies, just to get wherever he wants to be. I think he's a little bit smarter than that.
So Jack, you're given all this reasoning, and yet you decided to join the infantry.
I did. So I did drink the Kool-Aid, like my dad was saying, to some degree, but like he was saying there, the infantry is probably the most challenging, part of it all, but it's been very rewarding too, because you're purely with, the guys on the ground. Your mission is to say with the infantry is, close with and destroy the enemy. And so do I look back on sometimes and be like, yeah, should I have done something else? Yeah, of course you do. My personality maybe would have been fit elsewhere, but I chose infantry, and I don't regret it, because I've had some great experiences up to this point, and it is a very pure test of, especially small unit leader, which I've been fortunate to be a platoon leader. So I got 40 guys under me right now. Myself and a platoon sergeant. We're responsible, and we run everything for 40-man platoon, and it's there've been good times and bad times within it, like anything, but it has been a really, really good experience. So infantry is like my dad said, it is definitely a meathead world, but you gotta love it.
So after he graduates, they send all the officers to their whatever branch they are to do a basic course, which is several months long. So Jack went to Fort Benning, which is the home of the infantry, and did a lot of his training there. And after they do their officer basic training, then generally they'll go to Ranger School. So Jack went to Ranger School and then went to Ranger School again, which is, tell you the truth, I was never more proud of him than maybe in between, Ranger School 1 and Ranger School 2, how he handled himself and went back, because that does not happen very often.
So going twice is not typical. What happened?
So you're constantly graded and assessed through Ranger School the whole time, and you can pass or fail, throughout the whole thing, and you can fail pretty much at any time from the course. And it's divided up into 3 phases. And so you have your first phase, so what they call Darby phase or Benning phase, which is held at Fort Benning. Then you have the second phase, which is Mountain phase, which is held up in the mountains of North Georgia. And you have your third phase, which is Swamp phase, which is down in Florida. So you have 3 different phases you go through, but you could fail throughout the whole school and pretty much just be dropped completely and have to start back from square one. And I made it all the way up until the last phase, the Florida phase, and failed at that and got dropped and had to go back and start all over. And it was pretty heartbreaking, to really make it up till the last phase, literally the last thing, to where you are almost completed with a pretty grueling course. And I was basically told, like, hey, you're not good enough. It was tough. See a lot of your buddies go forward and to graduate and to accomplish Ranger School, and you kind of feel like I was kind of left a little bit. And it was one of those things. I failed, and no matter how heartbreaking and disappointing it was at the moment, I knew pretty much from the moment they gave me the failure slip at Fort Benning and told me to get lost. Pretty much right there, I was like, all right, I'll come back. I'll do it again. And there wasn't a doubt in my mind that I would go back and that I would earn it. But it was definitely a really good test of resilience. The worst part was I had to start from day one again. And it's a grueling course, and having to go back to day one was like, oh my gosh,
So they don't give you credit for the first two phases?
No, you got to start all the way over.
You think they would?
I wish they would.
What were the actual tests and courses like?
Each phase was pretty brutal. So the most physically demanding phase, I think, would probably be the mountain phase, which is your second phase. I mean, you're just going up and down mountains constantly, up and down and through just rough terrain. And I did it in the winter time too. So the winter time up in the mountains was, it was snowed on us a couple times. It was pretty much sub-zero or sub-freezing temperatures, the whole time we were out there. So I mean, it just affects your body and your mind.
But Daniel, what they do, if I may interject, Jack, is you're put in a leadership position and you're given a mission, and there's planning you have to do, okay, and then there's the execution of the plan, and so you're going through these phases of the mission from the planning to the execution, and there's all these steps you got to go through along the way, okay, and do, and the whole thing as a leader, you're like supervising your people, making sure everybody's working together, and so in a place where you have no sleep, no food, to cause that stress, then it's really pushing you to think and lead, and follow, what is kind of like prescribed for you out there. But there's a lot of leeway that you can do, and that how your personality can come out, and whether you stress out and freak out about stuff, or you're trying to be calm and cool and lead people through these missions. Okay, and the missions themselves are like generally when I went through, every mission I was ever on was an absolute disaster. And if it was going well, the RIs, the ranger instructors, they inserted themselves and screwed it up. But all of that is once again designed to put stress on you and make you react in a level-headed and logical way, that you're not just giving up or panicking or just like lose your mind and like you can't make a decision. And that happens to a lot of people. And you just got to kind of learn from that and go on. So that's what those missions are as you go along the way. Now you'll have a mission, you'll be graded on it, and 3 days later you'll get another mission, you'll be in a different leadership role, and it just kind of like goes from there. And it's also one of those things like, it's you don't know when your name's gonna be called. So I mean that's another little bit of added stress there. Halfway through the mission, they may stop the mission and go, okay, all new leadership. Okay, so at any time you could be tapped for that. So you can't ever really take it. It's hard to take a day off. You can't. You got to know what's going on and stick with it. So that's why it becomes such a grind over the time. By the time you get to the final phase, your body is weak from malnutrition, and your mind is numb. And so that's the final part. You just got to get through it.
So is the test like very clearly, are the metrics laid out? Like you need to pass within these parameters, and if you don't meet this mark, then you fail? Or is it more of a subjective judgment by whoever's running the course?
It's highly subjective.
Judgment. It is. But I mean, that's not to say like my first time around, I didn't make mistakes. I could have done things better, to make that. But
and some of the ranger instructors they're just pricks, and they don't pass anybody. And just they kind of like, hey, they forgot all about when they went through, and like they just thought their memory is that they're Superman, they're like Super Ranger, and they're not going to give it to anybody else. There's a lot of reasons, a lot of good people who don't pass Ranger school that should have, and there's a lot of guys that pass Ranger school that probably shouldn't have. But that's what happens.
Yeah, there is a pretty subjective part in the grading and the passing and all that, but. Yeah, I accepted it. I had to accept it. Okay, I had failed something that I had was a goal of mine for a long time, and it's something that in the infantry world, especially for young infantry officers, is pretty much like the pinnacle of what you want to do to establish your career from the start, and it fuels you too. So failure, a disappointment, fuel you to go back and to try again. And I went back in it, and I wanted it. I wanted to get it. I wanted to finish what I started and accomplish that goal. And I went back and the moment walking back into Camp Rogers at Fort Benning for the second go around was it was tough right there, because I was like, kind of leading up to, like, all right, I'm going back, I'm ready, I can do this, in a way you're kind of, you're fueled by, hatred, and you're pissed off, and you're like, you're ready to go that, and then they're walking through the gates again at Camp Rogers was like, oh man, you start to step back in, you're like, oh man, this place is terrible. But I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how to be, level-headed, how to, be calm in situations that you had been to before, and that you had failed at before, and you're going back, to try again. And again, it speaks against the importance of being resilient and things, still holding on to hope that you will be able to achieve something good out of, whatever setbacks you go to. So that's the big thing on the whole Ranger School experience of, failing at first, making it all the way to the end, failing at first, and then going back and getting after it, finally graduating. It not only made it that much more, sweet at the end when, my old man was able to pin the tab that he earned, back in 1990. So about 29 years before, pin that exact same Ranger tab that he earned back then on me. Not only did it make it that much more, sweeter, and you can be like, I did it, and I did it in the hardest way possible, which was
absolutely,
again, not necessarily something the way you want to go about it, but looking back on it is, it might sound crazy. I would not want to have it any other way.
And that's why I say, Daniel, like I remember my thoughts when I was at Ranger School, and I don't know if I had recycled one phase, much less the entire school, if I would have gone back. I mean, it was a suck fest. But one of the things that Jack had said that I really got a kick out of is he's actually had people come up to you, Jack, and say like, hey, you're the guy that went through Ranger School twice. So with a little bit of reverence to that, like.
Is that like you're crazy? How could you do something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Some people ask like, man, like how the hell did you do it? How did you pull it off? And how'd you go back through the whole thing again? And, and I kind of think about it. I'm like, you know what? I mean, like, I hope if someone really wanted it that bad, I hope anyone would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in my shoes, in my situation.
Mike told an entertaining story from the time when he was very sleep deprived. Mike, I've actually gotten a lot of feedback that people really enjoyed that story. Do you have a story that would be entertaining for our listeners?
So there was, I can think of two right off the bat that are, I'll tell the first one that I think might be the best one. So we were going through the swamps in Florida that night. And, I mean, it's like neck deep swamp at a certain point. And there's snakes crawling around you. It's a terrible environment. And you're carrying all your equipment, your weapon, you got 100+ pounds on your back. You're moving through these swamps at night and you're just falling everywhere. You're falling face first into mud, and terrible. And we were going through the swamp, and we were crossing a river. So there's a river that was running like direct through the swamp, and we had to basically get everyone across. Swimmer goes and ties a rope on the other side, and you shimmy everyone across this river. And the river's flowing pretty good too. So it's one of the tests you go through is, can you maneuver a platoon through a swamp, and you do a river crossing and all this. And I remember when we got to the river, a thunderstorm rolled in, raining, lightning, all over us. And the RIs, they're always playing like the tough instructors, the stone cold instructors. They're like, hey, move it, Ranger. We got to go, start moving, get moving. So you got so bad. They were almost like freaking out a little bit, being like, hey, you good? Like, here, I'll help you. Just like pushing you through. They were kind of freaking out too in a way. So it was just like, you couldn't see where you're going. I don't know how we didn't lose someone in the swamp. It was complete chaos. And we eventually made it to the high ground and got accountability of everyone. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh, did that really just happen? That's probably one of the best Ranger School stories. Just right up, but there's so many, especially just like funny, hallucinating ones. I mean, I remember talking to trees, talking to bushes.
What were the conversations like?
You have no idea.
About food.
Probably, or just, stuff every day. You're out there, something weird happens or something crazy happens. You're just like, whoop, you just kind of shake it off and keep going. But I saw people be standing up and fall face first, flat on the ground, just from being so tired, and they wouldn't get back up.
They passed out?
Yeah, well, almost like they passed out, but it wasn't like they were just so tired they literally fell asleep standing up and fell face first. They were that tired.
Wow.
And they just didn't get up. You're like, it was a pretty crazy experience overall. But
so, Jack, we asked your dad this question. We've asked most of our guests this question. Imagine you're 25, and how old are you actually?
I'm 25.
You're 25. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Imagine you're 25, but you never went to West Point. You never went to Ranger School. You're not married. You don't have a girlfriend. You don't have any real responsibilities other than you're caring for yourself. Would you join the military for 4 years, or every week for 6 months write and deliver a 10-minute stand-up comedy routine?
Ooh, comedy or the military?
Yeah, comedy or the military. I think we all know the answer, but you can surprise us if you want.
I gotta go military. Just because it's been so rewarding the whole time, and with it all, and I can imagine not having been in the military, done something with that. But yeah, I guess gotta go military. Yeah, comedy would be fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
You think you could do it? The comedy?
I don't know. Probably not. Just because, I don't know. I like having fun. I like laughing and joking around and all that, but I don't really like the spotlight, really. I mean, I could talk in front of people and.
Could you make them laugh? That's the thing.
And do that. Could I make them laugh? I don't know.
Sounds hard. Sounds really hard.
Depends on the crowd. But nah, probably not. Military would be my way.
Of course, going through Ranger School in the winter sounds incredibly hard.
And he had to do it twice.
Yeah, and doing it twice. You didn't do winter twice, I hope.
I did. Yeah, winter twice.
What?
That's what I'm telling you.
What?
I would have tapped out. I would not have made it.
Oh, I would have made up every excuse in the world. Oh, you slotted me for a winter? I'll take spring, please.
That's why I still don't have any feeling in my fingertips or toes.
I bet. That. Man,
well, see,
that is brutal.
But Paul, that's one of the things where he wanted to do that because his battalion was going to Iraq, and he wanted to catch them.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
So you were commissioned almost 3 years ago, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it'll be 3 years next month.
Right.
So May of 2017.
And your dad retired a little while ago, and so you guys were in uniform for over a couple of years at the same time. Now, you weren't in the same location, you weren't in the same unit, but I imagine you found yourself in uniform with your dad in uniform. Has that happened?
Yeah, a couple of times. So we, I think there were three big ones. And Dad, if you want to add to anything, but I think there were three big ones that will stick in my head or ingrained in my head for a while. The first one was, when I commissioned, and at West Point we graduated the same day, and you commission, as the officer, you take pin your bars on, and then of course you do your ceremonial first salute. So that was one awesome moment. Yeah, my dad and I got to share too. Yeah, he got to be the first salute, and the next one was Ranger School. So he got to pin the tab, his Ranger tab that he earned back in 1990. He's in uniform for that. I was too. That was a great memory. That might have been my favorite one. But and then the last one was awesome too. So Dad, Dad, it was your last day in uniform, right? Or your last official day in uniform?
I kind of cheated on that because you guys came in late.
Yeah,
it was actually the first day of my retirement, but
Yeah, he might have gone a day over, but it still counts. But yeah, so I think because he was in uniform for when we got off the plane from Iraq. Deboard the plane, had the homecoming ceremony there. He was in uniform for that, and so was I. So I think those are like the three big shared experiences we had in uniform together. I think all three were pretty cool.
Yeah, those are all really cool. I can almost guarantee that you're the only lieutenant Mike ever saluted as a sergeant major.
You may have a point there.
Well, I'm least qualified to be bringing up this topic, which I think is why I'm doing it. But you played football when you were in high school. Is that right?
Yeah. Played. It started in. I was younger. Started back in early middle school, and then all through high school.
And how would you qualify the importance of football in your life?
Ooh, very important. Very important. Football is just like, it's just it's a great sport. I love it. It's my favorite sport. I love, put the pads and the helmet on was, every year was just incredibly fun.
Well, Daniel, I'm gonna interrupt and just tell the first story of Jack's football experience. Like growing up, and Jack, I don't be insulting or anything, but he was terrible at most sports. Now he didn't try. Baseball was like just, oh my gosh, he could throw and catch, but he couldn't hit the ball to save his life.
It's what every kid wants to hear. His dad said he's terrible at sports.
It was painful.
I made up for it though.
Soccer, he didn't like soccer. Swimming, he got into swimming. He was a very good swimmer. Breaststroke, the harder strokes, not so much the freestyle, but or backstroke, but also
butterfly.
Mm-hmm. He was very good at that. So he was very successful and doing great. And then one day when he was, I think, in 7th grade, right before 7th grade, he came home and said, like, me and my buddy, we want to play football. And Katie's first words to him were, "You're not going to play football. You swim." And it's like, oh no. I said, Katie, you gotta let him play. He'll probably get his ass kicked and he'll be back before you know it. But instead, and he did get his ass kicked, and I remember making like pads for him because he would come home bruised from the practices. But he stuck with it and then take it from there, Jack.
Yeah. So it was football from the first year. Yeah, it was kind of a transition, from playing, just backyard pickup football and all that to actually playing, like, putting helmet and pads on and playing. But yeah, I just instantly just fell in love with it. I loved, just like being tough and, just the whole aspect of the game, playing as a team, and loved it. It just became my favorite sport from there.
What positions did you play?
I played mainly wide receiver and outside linebacker for my position.
And is a linebacker a defensive role?
Yeah, you're on defense as a linebacker. So I love, and by the time like junior, senior year rolled around, I really fell in love with defense too, of just being the defender, going in and hitting dudes, hitting them right in the mouth, and just especially playing linebacker too was just so much fun because you felt like you were in on every play, either in on making a tackle or just in on a tackle. Or I wasn't a star by any means. I was a plus 45 playing outside linebacker and loved giving hits, but I took a lot of hits too, and I just loved playing. I was scrappy. I just loved playing football, and it was just the sport was just so fun, and it's so American too. Friday night football, the high school level is like nothing else too, and it's so uniquely American. You're not going to find something like that anywhere else in the world. And of course, like NFL football, through professional sports or big time college, it's comparable to other things like big time soccer in other parts of the world where, it's very publicized and, people have their own teams, people know the players, they're almost like celebrities and all that. But when you break it down to high school football, it's communities, communities that come down to, fill in stadiums and, the players, everyone there. Nowhere else you're going to find that in the world, especially on Friday night football. Friday Night Lights is just one of those things. Like it's incredibly special, and it sticks with you. It's stuck with me, close to my heart for my whole life, and I know it will for the rest of my life. And it's like it's just one of those things, like I hope it can just carry on. And we always joke with some of my friends sometimes, some of my close buddies back home, Dad, Brock Buchanan and guys like that, Clay and Mike, some of my closest buddies from back home, I've kept in touch with since high school. I grew up with, were guys I played football with. And, we always kind of joke sometimes that, what would we do? What would we give up to go back and play, go back in time and play one more game, play against Hanover High School our senior year one more time. And I think we decided on we'd give like one of our fingers for it. Was like our decision, or we'd give up some pretty significant things to go back in time just for that one. Like, just because it's just one of those things that you just love so much and cherish it.
What do you think, Paul? Collegiate?
At my age, I'm not giving up a finger. But sure, I mean
you got one last throw in you though, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, the notion of being 18 again and playing football would be amazing. Yeah.
Did you fall in love with it more because of the technical aspects of the game, the strategy, the puzzles, or was it the culture surrounding it, the community, and like you're talking about the Friday night football, that kind of stuff?
I think it was more the second. I think it's more the second part. I think it's just like the team culture, the toughness that is required of football. I think more of that. Yeah, the technicalities in like the game is interesting. Yeah, it's definitely something. It teaches you preparation to go up against someone, but you find your motivation. You find the memories come from just the environment of it all. Being up against that guy from the other team in front of you. Who's gonna win that battle there was just having the crowd cheering for you, and then during the week too, grinding through practices, summer 2-a-days and all that it was all about the environment, and that's what really made me fall in love with it. Yeah, it's a great sport, and I still keep up with Atlee High School football. Even I'm 25 and 7 years removed from putting the pads and helmet on, and I still keep up with my high school team. Just seeing
actually he gave him a talk at the beginning of the season last year, right?
Yeah, really. A couple came to the end of the season. I had to be home, just on leave right after Iraq, and ran into their coach up there, and when talked to the team, just shared a few words. Kind of just addressing some of the similar things that we've been talking about now. Just how awesome football is, and how to appreciate it with you guys right there, and how it is uniquely American. What the good lessons and times you're going to have, and just telling savor every bit of it. Savor every single bit of it, because fortunately football is one of those sports to where once you're done with it, you're done. You could always pick up football, flag football, whatever, but you're never going to be in it again. You're never going to be in that environment again. Of course, unless you go and play at like the collegiate level or higher than that. But for most people, myself included, that's not an option. So when it's over, it's over, and it's one of the tough things about football is you grow to love it so much, and it becomes such a pretty big part of your life, especially at a young age. And when it's over, it's a big part of it that's just kind of gone. But you just have so many good memories and all that from them. Like the guys, like even to this day, it's just like whenever I'm back home and I catch up with some of my old buddies from high school and all that, we'll go grab some beers or whatever. Of course the conversations are, about how everyone's doing, catching up with each other, but they all resort back to football games. Yeah. It's like, it all resorts back to that, to one thing.
So I spent more of my life from 0 to 18 outside of the U.S. than in. So the whole football train, the whole phenomenon, I didn't understand it all. All I got was the everybody except America perspective, which is it's a bunch of big idiots putting pads on and running into each other, and it causes concussions and it's bad. And that was like almost the only perspective I got. And soccer, or as everybody else in the world calls it, football, is the only real sport, blah, blah, blah. So it's just really cool to hear the perspective, because you're right around my age,
mm-hmm.
And you parallel me in that you grew up in the States and you experienced the whole football phenomenon. And it's really interesting hearing how it's an integral part of you and your life.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, man. Football is just one of those, like you mentioned, it's uniquely American things. And
well, I also think it has parallels with the military.
Yeah. Oh no, it definitely does. It teaches you early on. It teaches you, teamwork and just having grit, being tough, and going up against another guy literally right across from you. Both of you guys just want to take each other's heads off and And yeah, it's a good, pretty much like you mentioned, Daniel, about a bunch of big A's just running at each other, tackling.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, in talking to you, you deal with meatheads in the infantry, and you deal with idiots that want to take your head off in football. But you seem to have I don't want to say mild-mannered, but a very well-mannered and polite and calm presence. Are you secretly super competitive? You just kind of keep it under the surface?
Yeah. I have some competitive nature underneath me. I love getting competition. Yeah, because competition brings a lot out of you. Yeah, I like to be, try to be a little bit more mild mannered and respectable and calm and all that. But I also feel like that, competition is what, drives people, fuels, and is really what brings the best out in you too. Yeah, and healthy competition does that. There's a difference between healthy competition and unhealthy. And unhealthy is being more like, being bitter towards other people, being resentful, not kind of being backstab into your buddy or whatever. Like, that's more like unhealthy. Healthy being like, you and your buddy are going to compete, but you're going to push each other. And at the end of the day, you're still going to be friends. You're still going to, and you do it for, of course, because you want to beat him, but you want to do it because, you know that you're improving not only yourself, but your buddy too. And then it goes more to the higher up to the team aspect. But I think, competition is always a good thing. Competition. Yeah.
All right. So you used the word career, I don't know, 3 or 4 times during this discussion. Are you planning on doing 20 plus in the Army active?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't really know. I really don't know at this point. I've been in 3 years. My initial commitment is 5. So I got 2 more years left. And I don't know. It's hard to say right now. I got, some aspirations I could do on the outside. I could stay in, and, I feel fortunate to, even have different decisions on the table. And we'll see. It's hard to tell, what next year is going to bring, or years after that, or hell, even what, next week is going to bring, especially with what's been going on recently. But so we'll see. We'll see. Like, I have been considering a lot about, going to the National Guard and having a civilian career too, but still being with the military, with the Army, still do training and doing stuff like that, and balancing out both of those. And it's a big consideration I have. And one thing I really want to do, and really looking into, is potentially flying as my next kind of goal and ambition, and trying to drop a flight packet and go on that route, and flying for maybe possibly active duty or the National Guard as well. So considering that, and possibly staying in infantry and staying on the career track I got now, being a company commander and moving on through that, or maybe just hanging it up and going into the civilian world and establishing myself there. So it's like right now I'm kind of coming up to the decision point on what you want to do next and where you want to take yourself. But right now, I mean, I think my goal is to stay in the I like the Army. I like it a lot, and it's afforded me some wonderful opportunities, and I feel very fortunate to have had those. And I think the main outlook is I want to stay in the Army in some way. I would like to eventually get back to Virginia, get a whole family live there. I would like to get back and kind of settle there. And
Jack, I've told you several times, Colorado. So,
he wants me to move out west.
Give me a reason to move out west.
He can't. Yeah, because he can't. But no, we'll see. I love my family, close to all the family, so I would like to move back and be close to them. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen. And just started dating a girl. Got a new girl in my life now. So I mean, that could be something that drives some decisions down the road. Yeah, you just don't know. But feel fortunate to at least have different options on the table.
Yeah, once you make a commitment to a young lady, like with a ring, I mean, your decision-making days are almost over at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you do, I wish you the best of luck, Jack. I really appreciate you joining us tonight. I love the fact that you are serving our country. I respect you for that, and I appreciate your service. Mike, all of that goes for you as well. So thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Daniel, great to see you again.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Camouflage.
All right, sir. And Daniel, thanks a lot for having us. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's great talking with y'all. And go Army. Be Navy.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Come find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching PodSo1. We'd love to connect and hear your thoughts.